The year is 2009. Vitali Klitschko is in the prime of his lengthy and dominant period as the WBC heavyweight champion of the world. After some impressive victories since taking his second loss of his career to Lennox Lewis in an infamous heavyweight battle ending due to a brutal cut below the eye whilst ahead on the scorecards, he's ready to strengthen his claim as the best heavyweight in the world. Next up is the Nightmare, Chris Arreola, a big beast of a heavyweight with the heart of a lion. Can Arreola be the third fighter to haunt the dreams of Vitali? Or will Dr. Ironfist pull an Uno reverse card and send Arreola to the doctor's office for a prescription fixing a severe lack of strength, fitness, and brains? Welcome back to Boxing After Dark, where today we're going to be looking at a Ukrainian Terminator in the height of his devastating run through the heavyweight division, against an all-American badass attempting to claim what so many others have tried and failed to do before him. Let's get into it. We all know Vitali, a man, myth, and legend with a knockout percentage at the time being 97.5 across all of his victories. A man who outshined his younger brother, who would notably become the longest reigning heavyweight champion of all time, and with some devastating knockout wins to talented opposition such as Juan Carlos Gomez and Samuel Peter, a man who knocked out Vladimir in brutal fashion. Vitali was clearly more machine than man. He was the bump in the night that makes you too scared to drop the covers and see what you're dealing with. With a face of stone and fists of venom, Vitali would have his thermal ready for whoever wanted the smoke. And if you wound up in his line of sight, you could kiss your undefeated record, if not your career, goodbye.
I like to fight against strong fighters. As a fighter, your opponent wants to win the fight, the fight will be very interesting, not just for audience, for myself.
Chris Arreola, on the other hand, does not have the credentials of Vitali. Without a notable win on his resume, nor his stats being as impressive, it was easy to see why Vitali was the 10-1 favorite for the fight. But the trick up Arreola's sleeve that few before had possessed was he believed himself to have more than a puncher's chance. He was a man with faith in himself, and someone who wanted to prove that he's not the oaf he's portrayed to be. Team Nightmare were far from a household name, but Chris had the courage to step up to the plate, putting his undefeated record at risk and wanting all the glory for himself and his crew.
I'm a boxer. I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm not a pretty guy. I don't give a fuck. I'm in there to box. I'm in there to fight. I'm in there to bang some heads. I love it. I live for that stuff.
Many questioned his longevity for the sport due to his clear lack of love for it, insinuating in the past that boxing was a job for a hefty paycheck rather than the career he desired.
Arreola fights another battle outside the ring, the Battle of the Bulge.
Sometimes I don't think he gives us the best chance to win, being sometimes that he comes in a little out of shape, a little bit too far out of shape. At times it is very frustrating, very frustrating at times.
Michael Phelps smoking weed, why can't I drink a beer? That guy's still setting records. Why can't I have a beer?
But whatever his motive for being inside the ring, he'd fight anyone. And a man who fears no opponent is a man without a mental weakness. And if you want to beat a Klitschko brother, as Tyson Fury would show many years later, you first need to win the mental battle before the physical. The pre-fight was quiet and reserved, as most fights are between these two athletes. And while Arreola tried to hype himself up during the weigh-in, proclaiming that Klitschko will be sorry for taking the fight, the ice-cold, legendary stare of Vitali saw through the facade from a mile away. Vitali was as confident as a criminal with a police officer for a confidant, and it showed as the fight inched closer. The fight finally arrives on a crisp autumn's night, September 29th of 2009, and for the first time in a long time, Vitali has the colder reception. Arreola storms to the ring with Jay-Z blaring as he enforces the lyrics that he will run this town. As Arreola looks ready for a war, Vitali looks ready for a funeral, looking confident that it won't be his own on this night.
Ideally, this won't require a lot of blow-by-blow. They're going to bang away.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a very exciting fight. Arreola said he's going to be aggressive, and Vitali said he's going to be aggressive also.
I think Vitali, we shall see. There's a right hand over the top by Klitschko. Get inside Klitschko's arms.
And he catches you with a big shot.
Body shot by Arreola.
Attention for Vitali than any of them.
Trying to discourage him from
Get through. Our clock is momentarily not working. Having trouble finding
in position with the jab to keep his distance.
Klitschko does rarely
to you as a guy who throws punches and bunches, and there he tries. Klitschko. And as
Round 1 begins, and we see what we've come to expect from the man with the iron fists, as he plays with Arreola like a toy, keeping range to land crunchy jabs and stopping Arreola in his tracks with power when attempting to fight on the inside.
Vitali Klitschko, 34 out of 88. Only 7 of 32 for Chris Arreola.
Sometimes the best way to
Really get the range for his punches here.
It'd be easier for Chris to go to the body. And there he is, banging away at the body as he promised he would do.
At this stage right now, a lot more anxiety than anyone else has did.
Klitschko still, for the most, landing his jab, his left hook, straight right hand, as you saw right there, knocking Arreola back. Right, I mean, the reason Vitali... That's how eager Arreola is to get there.
Where he can just simply move back right there, and then an effective outwardness that is very, very good.
So far, by CompuBox count, Vitali has a 60-punch edge in landed punches.
Always does that. He always has his mouth open, his fights still doing that combination. Coming from.
Well, the other thing is arm punches.
Treating yourself to the notion that comes who's paid more of it.
Well, that hit. How can he go on taking this kind of punishment? Oh, with his PhD in sports science.
Cristobal Arreola's wife. Arreola's face is beginning to redden and show the damage from the number of punches he's taken so far.
Vitali Klitschko. Jim, I gotta tell you, Chris Arreola is making the biggest mistake I've ever seen. Big, his jab is too hard, so you gotta work your way inside. Just like he's doing there.
They were wild swings.
Vitali depends on keeping distance. I will have to say that Arreola's limited experience.
A little, but he's still without the rope.
Right uppercut partially blocked by Arreola. Times 3-4 punches at a time, but not really combinations.
Arreola has his best round of the fight as we get into round 4, landing a swift left hook and showing Vitali that he can deal damage in close-range combat when closing down the distance.
And he's falling behind on the scorecards, as you see from Harold Letterman's unofficial card. He keep pressuring Klitschko, get closer, and caused it. And Arreola shook his head as if to say that's not a big one. And Vitali sneaks in another right hand. Turn back with a right hand. Yes, as unconventional as it seems, he
Can punch at it, can hit just like
Power punches. Arreola, if you're wondering some chronic here now. That Vitali is not a big one-punch puncher.
Carlos Gomez, Klitschko's last two opponents, had basically given up by this point in the fight.
And then it's turning out to be that.
That Arreola's momentum is waning. Now he almost got a big right hand onto the chin of Klitschko.
But it's really hard to hit.
Than you expect a man his size to be.
Yeah.
Last several opponents who just confident in himself. We're halfway through the scheduled 12 rounds. Harold Letterman, how do you have it through 6?
Okay, so 60 to 54, 6 rounds to nothing. Vitali Klitschko, 6 to nothing Klitschko.
Actually, Vitali's been so effective with his punches so far, Harold. Now the Klitschko rooters in the crowd begin to chant. Both have been a little more flexible about that idea, and Vitali's tougher. Good body shot by Vitali Klitschko. He is so adept at managing space in the ring.
Supremely important.
The Klitschko, because they come to camp in such magnificent shape that all they do is add muscle. 7th round was typical of all its predecessors, numerically. Klitschko 25 out of 77. Arreola 8 of 32.
Over the fight still. And, you know, he's keeping it at his punches coming.
Hard left hand by Arreola. Airing Big Vitali out 20 seconds ago that Vitali seemed to be trying to take a rest in this round.
The only game you can see
Arreola.
the rippling stomach of Arreola.
Closest round of the fight.
A slow start for Klitschko at the beginning of round 8, as Arreola begins to pack pressure on and finally land some body shots. But Klitschko rejuvenates at the midway point and begins beating Chris back down once more.
Arreola's 28 and still
think and function better.
I think Vitali Klitschko can't stop the right hand. How about that quick little left hook as Arreola leaned in? How about that right uppercut?
He set in mentally.
I think that might be Arreola's blood.
Here you see Vitali Klitschko land 2 right hands. One is this uppercut type straight right hand, which he's a master at all these weird strange punches that he can land. And then he changes up with another right hand, which is straight on the knuckles coming from the top.
Vitali Klitschko has dominated the fight.
1968 against
Vitali Klitschko. Jim, I get fine. I mean, Vitali beat him unmerciful jab and the straight right hand.
There was a moment in the 8th round at that moment. Arreola is still...
Where he's punching and moving.
The 8th round of a technically...
that I've ever seen.
trapped. And again, credit to Arreola. He's pressured Vitali all the way and made him throw a lot of punches.
I think the referee stopping the fight.
Either the referee or Henry Ramirez in Arreola's corner.
I think it was a good call, because it was just a matter of time.
It was a downhill slide from the 9th round on. Arreola is weeping in the ring. He brought a lot of emotion to this. And there's the Arreola family, and they are just as disappointed as their dad. But in every fight, there's got to be a winner and a loser, unless it's a draw.
Referee John Shirley steps in and calls a halt to the bout. The end of round 10, the winner by TKO victory, and still WBC heavyweight champion of the world, Dr. Ironfist, Vitali Klitschko.
In the post-fight interview, Vitali sings the praises of Arreola, admitting the fight to be tough for him and explaining how great of a chin he'd had throughout.
First of all, I want to say thank you very much for Chris Arreola. He's very good, very tough fighter. He was real heavyweight champion of the world. He will be champion sometime.
Arreola after the fight would cry through his interview, whilst many look on in respect for him to care so much about a fight that was so heavily stacked against him.
I don't know, man. I just want to show sorry to everybody, man. I really wanted to be a champion today, man. And I worked my ass off. Fuck. Vitali's a strong motherfucker. He hits hard, and I never wanted to quit, man. That's never in me.
After the bout, Vitali would go on to make 7 more title defenses against other solid fighters, including the undefeated at the time Derek Chisora, Shannon Briggs, and the also undefeated Kevin Johnson. Klitschko would retire in 2014 for good after becoming wrapped up in European politics. He later became the mayor of Kiev, Ukraine in 2015. Arreola, meanwhile, has achieved many feats in the years since this fight. Having his fair share of wins and notable losses, he would knock out Eric Molina for the first time in his career before losing to Bermane Stiverne for the title that Vitali vacated when retiring from the sport, and would eventually find himself getting destroyed in brutal fashion by Deontay Wilder. Whilst Arreola is now coming to the end of his career, he's had many ups and downs, and despite never being a great, he was always formidable and respected across the vast majority of the boxing community. If you've enjoyed this video and would like to see more from Boxing After Dark, feel free to subscribe to the channel and don't be afraid to drop a like and comment. Thank you for watching.